To an outsider, the case of Kimberley Kessler seems pretty straightforward. All the evidence points to only one possible explanation. But amazingly, despite someone being behind bars for the murder of Jolene Cummings, 4 years later, her family are no closer to getting any answers. Expect shock, confusion, and a little bit of frustration as we examine the mysterious case of Kimberley Kessler. We begin in Yulee, Florida, where 34-year-old Jolene Cummings went mysteriously missing on Saturday, May 12, 2018. Jolene had her whole life ahead of her, and when she went to work that day to carry out her duties as a hairstylist, by no means would she ever have expected not to be going home again. Jolene worked at Tangle's hair salon and had completed her shift before getting ready to go home. She would have been excited as it was the day before Mother's Day, and she was due to pick up her kids that very next day from her ex-husband's house, ready for a day of fun and memories. Of course, as we now know, Jolene never turned up. Naturally concerned, the alarm was raised, and after more than a day of being unable to contact her, Jolene's mother officially reported her missing to the police.
On May 12, 2018, our lives as we knew it has been changed forever.
Local police searched the area, including local woodland, but found nothing. They quizzed the residents and nearby businesses in an attempt to find someone who may have seen her leave work, but they came up with nothing. It was almost as if she had disappeared out of thin air. Suspiciously, her colleague at the salon, Jennifer Seibert, who was working with her on that Saturday and would have been the last person to see her before her disappearance, failed to turn up to work the next day. Naturally concerned, police attended the salon and discovered that she had only been working there for about a month, and details about her past were extremely sketchy. Miraculously, while as police were talking to the owner, Jennifer turned up in a vehicle, but then immediately sped off. Could it have been the officers that had spooked her? Or maybe she had fled for another reason? At this point, it was unclear. However, further investigation discovered that the home address Jennifer had given the owner of Tangle Salon didn't actually exist. By this point, officers were very suspicious. 2 days later, on the 16th of May, investigators discovered Jolene Cummings' car parked in the parking lot of the local Home Depot. With no sign of Jolene in the vehicle, they decided to review nearby security footage to ascertain how it got there. All fingers were crossed that they would see Jolene park the vehicle and walk away. At least that way, they could start to track where she is now. But alas, it was not to be. Police looked on in confusion as they watched the vehicle enter the parking lot at 1:17 a.m. on that Sunday morning. A dark figure dressed in all black hesitated in the driver's seat for a few minutes, then got out and walked off. It was not Jolene. It was Jennifer Seibert. Meanwhile, back at Tangle's hair salon, evidence of large quantities of blood had been found on the walls, chairs, and within the drainage system. Blood residue was also discovered on a bottle of bleach and a mop. This meant only one thing. They needed to find Jennifer, and fast. After much work, their efforts rewarded them, and she was found living out in her car at a truck stop, some 3 counties away. Due to the incriminating evidence they had, they arrested her for grand theft auto, but could not yet pin her down for Jolene's disappearance. That said, they noticed scratches across her face, which she claimed were the result of a motorcycle accident. By this point, investigators felt they had enough evidence to determine that Jolene was no longer alive and held a press conference to make the announcement. All fingers were pointed to Jennifer as a murderer, but here's where things get very interesting. They discovered that Jennifer wasn't actually Jennifer. She had given Tangle Salon a fake name, address, and social security number. and her real name was Kimberley Kessler. Now, Kimberley herself was reported missing in 2012 by her mother. She had allegedly last seen her in July 2004, meaning she had waited 8 years to report her daughter's disappearance to the police. Not weird at all. Upon close investigation, officers discovered that Kimberley had lived in no less than 33 cities across 14 states and had gone by 25 different names.
Even a passport under the alias Jennifer Seibert. Investigators say Kessler previously used 18 different aliases.
This framed her as a woman on the run. But from what? Further investigation concluded that the blood found in the salon matched both Jolene and Kimberley, and a boot, sock, and pair of scissors were found in Kimberly's storage locker also had evidence of Jolene's blood on them. They also found a fingernail belonging to Jolene inside a blue bin which, you guessed it, belonged to one Kimberley Kessler. Searches of internet history on her phone even showed that she recently made searches for coworker guilty of murder, missing person body not found, and no body, no crime. Furthermore, a selection of wigs and cell phones were discovered, which Kimberley would later admit using to help disguise her identity. Most incriminating of all, they found a Walmart receipt for a transaction she made Sunday, the 13th of May, 2018, the day after Jolene's disappearance. The receipt showed that Kimberley had purchased a large trash bag, an electric knife, and a bottle of ammonia. As a result, Kimberley was indicted, but the trial was hindered after a psychiatrist noted that he believed she was suffering from delusional and personality disorder, which rendered her incompetent to stand before the jury.
Outbursts from Kessler have become the usual whenever she's in court. Her mental health might come to mind when you first think of this case. The defense argues she's suffering from a delusional disorder, but the judge decided she is competent to stand trial.
During a meeting with another psychiatrist, Kimberley had also become angry. She was sent to Florida State Hospital to restore her competency so the trial could continue. While in custody, things started to go downhill, and on September 28, 2020, a civil suit was filed for permission to force feed Kimberley after she had gone on hunger strike and had lost about 110 pounds. The sheriff said he believed that she was trying to kill herself by starvation. By October, her mental state was re-examined, and a judge ruled that she was now competent enough to stand trial. During trial, Kimberley had to be removed from court on numerous occasions for sudden and aggressive outbursts. She was further removed for shouting.
Jordan Beard is Johnson's nephew. Jordan Beard is Jolene Cummings' cousin.
A statement that accuses her former defense attorney of being related to Jolene Cummings. The accusation was subsequently proven to be untrue. In December 2021, Kimberley Kessler was convicted of first-degree murder and theft of a motor vehicle and refused to stay in the courtroom while the verdict was read out. Jolene's mother was also present in court that day and read out a statement directed at Kimberley. It read, "I know that you feel the pain of not being able to see your son. But if you could find it within your heart to tell us where the remains of my daughter, where are the remains of my daughter? Give us some closure. I'm asking from one mother to another. That's all I have to say. That's all I pray for." The county sheriff, Bill Leeper, commented,
"She's evil in the flesh. And as soon as she's sentenced, I want her behind out of our jail because we are fed up with her crap."
He went on to explain that there was one person who helped to solve the case, and that was Jolene. She left her blood and she left her DNA, and that's what got her. That's what helped us close this case, he said. After a short break, sentencing took place on January 27, 2022, and Kimberley, who watched from a separate room after being wheeled out of court for shouting loudly, was given life in prison without any possibility of parole. Again, Jolene's mother bravely read out another tearful statement. It read, When my precious daughter was murdered, part of us died. Our family has struggled to make some sort of semblance of life ever since. We are still waiting for Jolene to walk through that door, but Jolene is never coming home. Not only are we traumatized, but this is a never-ending nightmare. To this date, Jolene's body has never been found, and although all the evidence points to only one possible explanation, Kimberley Kessler has never given any explanation as to what happened to Jolene Cummings or offered any reasons behind her murder. We only hope one day Jolene's family will be able to find the closure they so desperately deserve.